Running a business today, well, especially here in Johannesburg, it can feel a bit like trying to navigate the M1 during rush hour, right? The digital world is just changing so fast. And maybe you're seeing competitors pop up online everywhere and you're feeling, I don't know, a bit overwhelmed. Maybe even like you're being left behind. So, figuring out the right way forward in this digital traffic jam, it often means finding the right co pilot. Which brings us to today. We're taking a deep dive into something really crucial for Joburg businesses right now, understanding digital marketing agencies. We've pulled together a whole stack of sources, articles, research, notes, you name it, to try and figure out what these agencies really do, how they can actually help you, and maybe most importantly, how to cut through all the noise and choose the right one for your business.
It's so true. The digital landscape here, wow, it's transformed dramatically,
Mhm.
especially since, say, 2020. We've just seen so many more businesses moving online, and well, with that comes a much bigger need for proper guidance, for expert help. Our goal with this deep dive really is to pull out the absolute most important insights from all this material so you can get informed quickly and make smart decisions for your business in this market, which is, pretty unique.
Okay, so where do we even start unpacking all this? Let's maybe kick things off at the basics. What is a digital marketing agency, specifically in the Joburg context? Because the material seems pretty clear. It's not just about, fancy offices and cool gadgets.
No, definitely not. At their core, these are teams dedicated to making local businesses visible and, well, successful online. And they get that while global digital trends matter, the South African context is different. Things like varying internet speeds, the high cost of data, how consumers here actually build trust online. That needs a specific approach.
Right, and that local understanding, that's really key, isn't it? Like an international playbook might just completely miss those nuances.
Oh, absolutely. It could fall flat. A local agency, they understand the specific challenges, but also the opportunities here. Their fundamental job really is connecting your business with the right people at the right time, wherever they happen to be online. And that means, well, everything from optimizing your website so people can find it to running effective ad campaigns and building those bigger strategies that actually, turn online interest into paying customers.
Okay. So getting you seen, getting you customers online.
Yeah.
Got it. That covers a lot of ground, though. What specific tools or services do they typically use? And maybe more importantly, how do you figure out which ones you actually need? Because it can seem like a huge menu.
Yeah, it can feel overwhelming. The sources list a whole range of services, and look, a key takeaway is you almost certainly don't need all of them, at least not right away. It's more about strategically choosing the ones that address your biggest business challenges first. Think of it like, picking the right tool for the job you need done now. So some common ones you'll definitely hear about are search engine optimization.eo. This is all about getting your website to rank higher in Google, basically. When people search for businesses like yours, it's usually more of a long-term play for sustainable visibility.
Right, the long game. And then there's the faster stuff like pay-per-click,
Yeah,
PPC.
exactly. That's the advertising side, showing ads to specific audiences, or maybe people searching for particular keywords. That's often better for, say, quick results or driving traffic for a specific promotion you're running. Then you've got social media marketing, building your brand, engaging with customers on platforms that actually make sense for your audience. Could be Instagram for a shop, maybe LinkedIn for B2B services. Content marketing is another big one. Creating valuable stuff, blog posts, videos, guides that attracts your ideal customers and positions you as an expert in your field.
Right, establishing authority.
Yeah.
And email marketing, I guess that's still crucial for nurturing leads, keeping existing customers engaged.
Absolutely vital, especially for direct sales and customer retention. And sometimes, look, the very first step is just needing a solid online foundation in the first place. That's where website development comes in, building or fixing up your online shop window.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, something that's really highlighted in this material, especially looking ahead to 2025, is the absolute necessity of Google My Business optimization for any local business.
Curiously.
The way local search works has shifted dramatically, making sure your Google business profile is complete, accurate, optimized. It's just fundamental now if you want nearby customers to find you.
That's fascinating. That something seemingly, well, simple, like a Google listing, has become that critical locally. The sources even mention specialized GMB optimization, like for medical practices. I guess that involves understanding specific things like privacy needs or how patients search.
Precisely, yeah. It just shows how specialized this field can get, doesn't it? And the advice here seems really sound. Start with one or two core services, the ones that tackle your most pressing need right now. Maybe you just can't be found online at all. Or maybe you get website visitors, but nobody's actually buying or contacting you. Start there. Build from there.
Okay, makes sense. Start focused. So let's say you understand the services. The next big hurdle, choosing the actual agency, it feels like a huge decision.
Yeah.
And the material really emphasizes it's not just about picking the first name you see on Google, right?
Yeah.
You need a partner, someone who genuinely gets your business, your industry.
This is where the practical insights from the sources are just invaluable. They give you really concrete questions you should be asking potential agencies. It's not just about their tech skills, It's about their business sense, their communication.
Like asking about their experience in your specific industry.
Yeah.
Have they worked with, say, other restaurants, if you own one, or other law firms, if that's your field? And crucially, can they show you actual results they've gotten for similar companies, not just promises?
Exactly. You also need to know who's actually going to be working on your account day to day. Is it going to be a junior person learning the ropes or a seasoned strategist? Big difference. How do they measure success? Is it tied to real business outcomes, leads, sales, revenue, or just vanity metrics like website traffic or likes? And really important, what's their communication style like? How often will you actually hear from them? What's the process?
And here's a pretty pointed piece of advice from the material. Check out their own online marketing. I mean, if a digital marketing agency can't get their own website ranking well or build an engaging social media presence for themselves, how confident can you really be that they'll do it effectively for you?
It's a fair point, isn't it? A very fair point. And that local understanding we talked about earlier, the sources point out the real value of agencies that know specific local markets inside out. They even mention things like specialized SEO services for businesses specifically in Pretoria as an example of that kind of targeted expertise. Ultimately, the ideal relationship should feel collaborative. Like they're really an extension of your own team, not just some outside vendor you hired.
Right, part of the team. Okay, now the big one for many businesses, cost. The money question. The sources tackle this head on. They say, look, it varies widely. And yes, it's an investment, but it shouldn't cripple your budget either.
Yeah, the pricing models differ quite a bit. Probably the most common is a monthly retainer. The material suggests this can range anywhere from, say, R$5,000 a month for smaller, more focused projects, up to R$50,000 or even more for larger, really complex campaigns. But you also see project-based fees for specific things like building a new website or performance-based models where they get paid based on results achieved, and sometimes you'll see hourly rates too.
What seems crucial, though, based on the reading, is shifting how you think about it, moving from just cost to thinking about return on investment, ROI. The material gives a pretty powerful example from their experience. Maybe a R10,000 monthly investment isn't just an expense column. Maybe it's something that leads to R100,000 or more in new business coming through the door over, say, a year.
That's exactly the mindset shift that matters.
Yeah.
The question maybe isn't can you afford it, but perhaps can you afford not to, especially if your competitors are already out there leveraging digital effectively. Deciding if it's worth it really depends on your specific goals, how quickly you need to see results, and what resources you have internally. Maybe for a very small business, the first step is actually upskilling someone already on your team.
Okay. So when you are talking budget with an agency, what are the key things you really need to nail down? What should you ask?
Right. The sources recommend asking about the minimum contract length. Often, 3 to 6 months is pretty standard because it takes time to see meaningful results, especially with things like SEO. Ask what happens if the agreed upon results or targets aren't being met. What's the plan then? Are there any hidden or additional costs beyond that main retainer? Things like ad spend, software fees, get clarity on the total investment. And also, can they scale their services? Can they ramp up if things go well, or maybe scale back if needed as your business needs change?
And the clear warning sign repeated in the material. The cheapest option is almost never the best value in digital marketing. Quality work takes expertise, strategy, and time. You get what you pay for, often.
Absolutely. Which brings us neatly to assessing if an agency is actually good at what they do. Beyond the sales pitch, how do you evaluate their reputation, their effectiveness? Because at the end of the day, delivery is everything.
Right. The material gives some practical ways to do this, like look at their case study, sure, but dig deeper than just the flashy headline numbers. Ask about the process they followed. What were the challenges? How did they solve them? Read testimonials and reviews? Okay, but maybe take them with a pinch of salt. We all know how easy it can be to get positive reviews these days.
The most crucial step, though, according to these sources, is asking if you can speak directly with some of their current clients. A reputable agency, one that's confident in their work, should be happy to provide a few references. If they hesitate or make excuses or refuse, that's a pretty significant red flag. And as we mentioned before, check their own online presence. Are they practicing what they preach? Are they walking the talk?
Yeah, that seems like a good litmus test.
Yeah.
And speaking of delivery, reporting sounds vital. How often will they report back to you? What specific metrics will they actually share? And critically, how do they connect those digital metrics, the clicks, the views, back to what actually matters most for your business?
Yes, exactly. Are they talking about website visits and social media likes, which can be nice, but maybe don't pay the bills? Or are they talking about qualified leads generated, actual sales conversions? What's the cost per lead, the cost per acquisition? Revenue growth. You want to focus on agencies that prioritize those real business outcomes over just, vanity metrics. Industry recognition or certifications, they can offer maybe an extra layer of confidence, but they're not everything.
And then there's also that intangible gut feeling, isn't there? When you talk to them, do they seem genuinely interested in your business? Do they listen more than they talk? Are they asking thoughtful, insightful questions about your specific challenges and goals? That rapport, that feeling of partnership, it's really important.
Absolutely. And if we zoom out a bit, look at the broader impact. The sources share some really compelling examples, stories of how digital marketing has genuinely transformed businesses right here in Joburg.
Yeah, like that small clothing boutique they mentioned in Rosebank. Apparently went from struggling to opening a second location in just 18 months, driven purely by smart Instagram and Google shopping strategies. That's impressive. Or the specialty food store that had to pivot hard during lockdown, used Facebook ads effectively, and actually grew its revenue, even while the physical store was impacted.
And that restaurant client example, seeing a 43% increase in foot traffic just from focusing on Google Maps optimization and running some local check-in promotions, these aren't just, hypothetical success stories cooked up somewhere. They're real examples happening right here, right now.
It really does feel like it levels the playing field, doesn't it? It's maybe less about having the absolute biggest budget and more about having the smartest strategy and, crucially, the ability to execute it effectively, and the measurability aspect. That seems key too. Being able to see what's working, what's not, and adjust in near real time. That must reduce wasted spending significantly compared to older forms of marketing.
Definitely. And looking ahead, the sources point to some key trends that are particularly relevant for businesses here in Joburg. Voice search, for instance, is definitely on the rise. Local search people searching for things near me is exploding in South Africa, growing like crazy year on year. And while AI and automation are big news everywhere, the perspective here seems to be that they're tools. Tools that make human digital experts better, more efficient, not necessarily replace them entirely.
Interesting. And mobile-first design is shifting towards almost mobile only for a lot of users here, right? Plus, short-form video content keeps getting more important. And with all the global privacy changes happening, focusing on building your own customer data, first-party data, becomes crucial.
Yeah, the big takeaway there seems to be that the most successful strategies going forward will be the ones that skillfully blend those global best practices with a really deep, nuanced understanding of local South African consumer behavior, technology access, and, well, cultural context.
So it's about understanding both the worldwide digital shifts and the unique Joburg rhythm.
You got it. That's the sweet spot.
Okay, great. So let's fast forward. You've done your homework, you've asked the tough questions, you've picked an agency. What's it actually like working with them day to day? What should you expect?
Right. The sources describe a pretty typical process. It usually starts with a deep discovery phase. Expect them to ask you tons of questions. They really need to understand your business inside out, your customers, your goals, your challenges.
Okay, so be prepared to share a lot. Then what?
Then comes strategy development. They should come back to you with a clear, documented plan. It should outline the channels they recommend using, propose timelines, and importantly, the key performance indicators, or KPIs, how success will actually be measured.
And once you approve that plan, they move into implementation.
Yeah.
Doing the actual work.
Exactly. Doing the SEO, running the ads, creating the content, whatever's in the plan. Communication styles can vary, obviously, but you should expect regular check-ins. Maybe weekly or bi-weekly calls are common, along with email updates. The point is, you should never feel like you're in the dark about what's happening. And regular reporting is standard, usually monthly. And again, crucially, those reports should really focus on how the digital marketing work is impacting your actual business results, leads, sales, ROI.
And the best relationships, as the material keeps emphasizing, are collaborative ones. It's not just handing it over. Your deep knowledge of your industry, your customers, it's invaluable input for the agency. They should be leveraging that.
Absolutely. It's definitely not a set it and forget it kind of service if you want the best results. The strategy needs to be dynamic. It should evolve based on the data that comes in and based on changes in the market or your business.
Makes sense. Needs active participation.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap this up, let's quickly hit on a few common questions that the sources anticipate people might still have. Like, how long does it really take to see results?
Yeah, that's a big one. And the honest answer is, well, it depends. It really varies by the channel you're using. Like we said, PPC ads, they can start driving traffic almost immediately. Social media engagement can build relatively quickly too. But for something like SEO, building that organic free visibility, you're typically looking at maybe 3 to 6 months before you start seeing significant, noticeable changes in rankings and traffic. It takes time.
Okay, patience is needed for some channels. What about guarantees? Can an agency guarantee you'll rank #1 on Google for a specific keyword or guarantee a certain ROI?
Be very, very wary of agencies that make those kinds of specific, absolute guarantees, especially ranking guarantees or exact ROI figures. Honest, reputable agencies will give you estimates, projections based on their experience and market analysis. But what they guarantee is their data-driven process, their expertise, and their ongoing efforts to optimize and improve results. They can't guarantee a fixed outcome in such a dynamic, volatile digital space. Too many factors are outside their control.
Right, guarantees about process, not outcomes.
Yeah.
Got it. What about contract length? Do you generally have to sign up for a whole year straight off the bat?
It varies, but a minimum commitment of, say, 3 to 6 months is pretty common. And that's mainly because, as we said, it takes that long to implement strategies properly and gather enough data to actually show meaningful progress and make informed decisions. Some agencies might offer month-to-month agreements after that initial period once things are up and running.
And how involved do you, the business owner or manager, need to be? Can you just hand everything over and forget about it?
Probably not if you want the best outcome. The sources are clear. You can't completely hand it off. You need to be involved enough to provide input, give feedback, approve strategies or content, and be available for those regular check-ins. The most successful partnerships really are active collaborations. They need your insights.
Okay, and the bottom line question, maybe one last time. How do you really know if they're doing a good job after, say, 3 or 6 months? What's the real measure?
Look at your business numbers. Simple as that, really. Are you getting more qualified leads coming in? Is your sales team telling you they're closing more deals that originated from online sources? Has your actual revenue increased? The real measure, the ultimate measure, is the positive impact on your bottom line. Not just the clicks, not just the likes, but actual business growth.
Right. Focus on the business impact. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the picture that really emerges from all these sources seems pretty clear. Hiring a digital marketing agency in Johannesburg, it's a significant strategic investment. It's not a small decision. But when you approach it thoughtfully, when you focus on finding a true partner who understands your unique business, who gets the local market nuances here in Joburg, and who is relentlessly focused on driving tangible business results well, it seems like it can be genuinely transformative for a business.
Absolutely, especially given how rapidly the digital landscape is still changing here.
Exactly. Which maybe leaves us with a final thought to ponder. Thinking about everything we've covered today, the rise of voice search, that intense focus on local, the growing impact of AI, the mobile-only shift. How much of your business's visibility, your customer pipeline, your success tomorrow really depends on starting to build that smart strategic digital foundation today. Something to really consider.